that don't, I'm Julie Hawkins. I am the Biz Psychic. I'm also an author, speaker, and trainer. I give private readings to help people gain clarity, wisdom, direction, and hope. And that's a lot of, I think, about what this call will be about today. I almost always exclusively give only private readings. And so this is a departure for me. I have on occasion given group readings. I prefer giving private readings, but we're going to see how this works today. I feel really called to it. For several weeks, my guides have been just, not just whispering. They're like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I'm like, I guess I'm doing it. So they better come through for me. No, I mean, I'm sure they'll come through for me. And so the reason I really wanted to do this is because I really wanted to offer some insight about what has been happening, obviously because of the pandemic, and what comes after. And there is no real after, because this is going to go on for a very long time. So that's part of what this call is about. Additionally, as you probably all are aware, there are many people offering a lot of calls about, you know, how to deal with anxiety and worry and overwhelm, and they're needed. They're all needed right now. So I am really glad that other people are doing them. This call is not really about that. So just know that. This call, as I said, is about the pandemic and the things that around that and what it has created in our world today. It is really for us to gain some, hopefully, new understandings. Some of this, as I have found out when I do these readings, some of this is acknowledgement or information that just validates what's been going on. So you may hear some of that as well. I never really know what I'm going to hear from my guides. I have no idea. How this call will work is that I ask you to post a single question in the chat box, and that it benefits everybody. So obviously, if you have a question that's about you and your business, I'm happy to give you a private reading. There's information about that on the screen with the discount. This is really so that everybody can benefit. So I think that the questions that I have been getting will do that, okay? You will hear me use words like we and us. That's because when I do this work, they speak through me. And when it's my opinion, I use me, and otherwise it's we and us, okay? Maybe they won't let me use, maybe my opinion won't come through today. I'm kind of hopeful, so you never know. All right. Let's see. So one of the things I mentioned in my email was that a few weeks ago, well, actually it was longer ago than that, I had asked my guides, what is this, how is this pandemic going to play out in a way, in other words, how long is it going to last before we get back to where we were? And so I asked a version of that. And here's what I wanted to give you. These are quotes as I wrote them down. So really what I said was, how long will it be before we are back to normal, or back to a place where we say, I'm so glad this is finally over and it feels like we are back to where we were pre-pandemic? That was my question. Their response to me was the following: it will take 3 years. This may seem like a long, long time. However, this may seem like a long, long time. However, there are many factors that go into this response. It is not just the pandemic. It is the assault on our democracy, both from internal and external sources. It is our societal structure, the enormous debt we are in, the extreme disparity among classes and wealth, environmental factors, and more. There are many changes ahead, and while you will remember what it was like pre-pandemic, 3 years from now, your new normal will never be quite the same as it was. We see this as a good thing because it will bring innovation and long overdue reforms that benefit more than the elite. You may see me get emotional. This just happens. Approximately 2 weeks ago, that was the end of that comment, and now there's another one. Approximately 2 weeks ago, I received information where I was told that COVID-19 is mutating. No sooner did I hear this from my guides than within a day, the news outlets started covering stories of more and more cases of some terrible condition affecting children. A few days after that, the news announced that scientists and doctors believed it may be the virus mutating. It is not unusual that I will receive information and within a few days have it confirmed via major news services or other sources. I also recently received information that the first vaccine we think is viable will fail. Whether for being ineffective or being unsafe, I do not know. I'm not sure we will hear about this in the mainstream news. It will depend on who is sitting in the White House. I am unsure as to whether this failure is here or in the US, or that it occurs somewhere else. And so perhaps we'll receive some additional information about this today. This was actually just a very fleeting and brief piece of information that I received, and so that is why the limitation on it, or the lack of details. And finally, I also received information several weeks ago. I was told that our entire healthcare system will change in big ways, and I doubt that anybody would be surprised at this. I do not know what this means specifically or how it will change specifically. I did not receive more details on this other than it will benefit many others than it currently does, if not everyone. It will be a version of universal health care, but not likely to be called that because it scares people. So this is where we are. And I'm going to stop the sharing so that I can, as soon as I figure out how to do that. Oh my God, you guys. Thanks for being patient with me. All right. So what I need to be able to see is your questions. So, and I'm having a moment with that. So give me just a second while I figure out how to access that. I wonder where that went. You know, I apologize. Wait, I see it. Okay. All right, you guys. All right. So let me see if, thank you for all your support, everybody, on how to do Zoom. All right. So the first question, actually, I want to start with a question that was sent in yesterday because this person could not attend. And honestly, I think she's actually on the call, but Leslie, I'm going to use your question. So, or at least parts of it, and we're going to start there. And so her question was, when will people be ready to invest in themselves, such as with personal development? and she says again, when will people be ready to invest in themselves again? Is this always the last thing people invest in? So people are funny. I'm sure you all know this. And the last thing that is happening for people right now is thinking about investing in themselves on a personal development uh, perspective. So that's kind of the bad news if you want to think about it that way. The good news is there are ways to kind of get around that. And we like these platforms of free calls, Zoom calls, because it invites people to engage with themselves and with others and step out of sort of the ugliness of what's happening. And we mean ugliness on many different levels. It's painful. It's painful. So people are not going to be ready to do personal development type of, I'll say trainings or classes, or it's just not going to happen for a while. However, this is doing these, as we said, doing these calls is a great way to connect with people and to make sort of a lasting impression, if you will, okay? If honestly, people are thinking about how they're going to pay their bills, how they're going to pay their mortgage or their rent, how they're going to get groceries. And some of them are sadly not even thinking this is real. That's another conversation. Part of Leslie's question was, how can we move them forward out of fear? And I like that question. And the general response to that is, it's in some ways, it's not your job to do that. Everybody will be where they're at until they're somewhere else. And we know that's a very philosophical, pragmatic sort of answer. However, people react from fear based on many things. And until they're ready to move to someplace else, all you can do is keep offering and seeding. And that's sort of the best answer to that right now. And and they said to me, and vote. So not me, that was them, although I believe it too. So the people who are in fear, we're calling it a rite of passage. This is a place that they may need to stop in before they end up somewhere else on their journey. And it's okay. It's okay. Everybody is meant to be where they are, and where they are is where they are meant to be. We'd like you to remember that what you may see as fear may be something else for somebody else. And starting from a place of just acknowledging that and allowing them to be where they're at is, of course, the best place to start. So I hope that answered most of that question, or part of that question. We may hear this circle around in other forms. So let's see, what else do we have? All right. And then Paula asked, how will the pandemic affect the political climate this year and after? That is that's an interesting question. So here's what we're going to say, first of all, to that. The person who sits in the White House is not really driven by the pandemic. and I'm guessing many of you know this already. So we cannot answer that from that perspective. What we can say is that the people who experienced the pandemic, or the people who doubted it and experienced it, or know somebody who experienced it, it will impact them in ways you might imagine. Some of them will include getting out there and voting. Some of them, it will wake them up to understand that that the current path that we're on is not in their best interest, and that indeed, in order to have things shift, that they will need to go out and vote for a change in management, we'll call it. Vote for a change in management. And we see this coming. There are fluctuations in the energy system, we'll say, in the energy system of the earth. And as these things fluctuate, the candidate, Mr. Biden, and the current occupant, Mr. Trump, they will go back and forth in their ratings, we'll say, or their positions in the polls. We think this is, we see this as normal. We think this is normal. We say, again, go out and vote, whatever that means to you. Your voice needs to be heard, and we need to be careful that this is a huge effort underway to stifle that. And so if anything is to be fought for, it is to be fought for the right to continue to vote. So many months ago, we saw a shift in who would take over the White House, and it would be Mr. Biden. And while we see some fluctuations, we still feel that is a viable outcome at this point. And that will, of course, bring about many changes. And people are ready for that, many of them. Of course, we know that not everybody is, and we must be patient with those people. So be patient with them. The outcomes that I'm giving you today, I need to say this. I was going to say this up front and I forgot. The outcomes that we're giving you today are the possible outcome. These are possible outcomes based on the energy and the perspective of the current moment. There are limitless possibilities. And so we bring in the strongest energy as we perceive it now. Okay, just know that. Of course, I feel like a salesperson when I say this, things are subject to change. But it just is. It's the way it is. We are an energy system, and we are ever changing. And we are a movement, and you can be a movement. So engage in your movement, whatever that means to you. All right, we feel like we want to move on from there. All right, this is from Celia. I see the pandemic as a way to quickly get the entire world, onto a more evolutionary and kinder track than it was on. We like that, Celia, we agree with you. I heard the virus mutations were actually milder than the original version in China. Will GMOs and CFAOs be outlawed? Will sustainable energy and farming quickly rise? I personally don't know what a CAFO is, but here's what I'll say rather than dealing with those specifics. So let me go back to them. We agree with you. This is very much an and evolution. And there are those who will come kicking, okay? They will eventually be brought along. We feel their pain because it scares them. It scares them to think a lot of things, but it's very scary for the people who are carrying weapons and believing that things are, a conspiracy, that this is a conspiracy, that they have been led by these stories. And so it's hard. It's hard for us. And of course, again, we always come back to this is their pathway currently. Over time, of course, there is evolution for all, and we are coming upon a new awakening. Will it bring everybody along? No, and it never does. And that's okay. This is what challenges us or you as a species to rise to a higher level. And we absolutely encourage you to keep doing that. As for mutations, we want to say a little bit about the pandemic itself and the virus itself. This is a particularly virulent string or strain. That is not a word I ever use personally, so pardon my attempt to get it out of my mouth. Like many viruses that come and go, it will eventually go or be managed. That is not soon. It will come and go in its strength. It will come and go in its visitation of us. So Julie, they'll refer to me. So I personally had a metaphor of this as it's almost like cancer. It comes, it invades, we treat it when we can, or the physicians, the medical community treats it, and we hope that it goes into remission. This will do that. It will come back. It will come back. And it may come back more than just a wave in the next few months or in the fall. We actually see what has happened thus far, and it pains us to say this, as a dress rehearsal, because nobody should die from a dress rehearsal as we see it as human beings, right? We want to see this in a different way. It is what we would call, or what you would call, a dress rehearsal. And sadly, it is not a very good one, right? This will come back. It may come back stronger in the fall, and then again next year. There will be treatments that come along that will help we don't see a vaccine. We do not call it a cure. We do not see this as something necessarily at this time having a cure. But we don't see treatments for this happening, or a vaccine happening that we think might be the start of something viable until really next year. Despite what you may hear, despite it happening in a lot of places around the globe, and we like that. We like that that's happening. Humans are industrious. thankfully they're moved to do this. We just don't see that happening just yet. So, of course, until then, you know that you need to take preventative measures and be cautious. This may sound callous, and this is unusual, we think, coming from us, but people will need to do what they need to do, and those who are exiting from this pandemic, it is their path to do so. You may realize that there is no rhyme or reason right now as to why some people live and some people die. And what we can say is that the reason that happens is because this was their time, right? Okay, I think there's all on that. Just know that I'm not unmuting you now because there's a lot of questions, and so we may circle around for a second round if we have time, okay? And if you don't specifically get the answer that you want at this moment, it may show up later. All right, Catherine asks, oh, wait, I want to go back to something because Celia asked, will sustainable energy and farming quickly rise? We love this question because there are going to be so many changes ahead, so many innovations. I'm not sure I can specifically give them labels. However, if you think it, do it. If there are so many innovations to come, and this is such a great opportunity for that in a variety of different areas, not just agriculture and farming, and in all areas, in business, believe it or not, they're telling me in banking. I don't know why, and I don't know what that means. So it just, maybe that's for you, Anita, I don't know. That in a whole variety of ways. If you think back to the pandemic or the Spanish flu of 1918, 1919, this brought about many new innovations, as did the cholera pandemic, as did previous pandemics. So we will say this again, this will be a great type of and this will be a great time for innovations. And so let your imagination run wild. If you dream it, you can do it. I'm not owning that. I know somebody else said it, and do it, dream it for sure. There are many innovations to come. And so, so I hope that helps with that question a little bit. All right. Thanks, Celia. So, Catherine, I'm going to come back to you in a second because this is sort of a follow-on to the other question I see Joyce asked. What type of new business services will develop as a result of this new normal? See, when you ask a specific question, maybe we get a specific answer. We'll see. Some of this, again, they're telling me banking. I don't know why, and I don't know what this means. A reform in the banking system. It might not just be banking as we think of it. It may be the money system as we think of it. Maybe Anita can speak to that a little bit more eloquently than we could, but things like Bitcoin or just innovative ways to trade money and to barter. This, you may see more of this happening. And it might even not be innovative as we think of it, but a throwback to the barter days or something, a sort of theme or new take on that sort of system. business, we do see over time that there will be an attempt, at the very least, to have more equality and equanimity, if that's the right word, come through for businesses. So where small or innovative businesses come into the picture, that they're actually helped by bigger businesses. Boy, do we hope so, right? That this is truly a benefit for all, that they see this in a new way now. So we hope that that happens. That's future, way down the road. I don't know specifically what that means, but not in the near term, we'll say, not in the near 6 months, 6 to 12 months. It will be after that. What other businesses will develop? We actually feel a resurgence in a way that remakes certain, what we would call old-fashioned services. It's really interesting. They're showing me textiles or weaving looms. I have no idea why or what that means specifically, but that's what they're showing me. So it might be that there's some new innovation around that. I'm not saying go out and buy yourself a loom, although you never know. There's something more to that. So it might be just more manufacturing as well. But not as we think about it, like with cars and this is about developing some sort of new clothing fabric that is germ resistant. Okay, run with that one, somebody. I want to see your faces. Let's see, what else? That was really interesting. Okay. All right, back to Catherine. Okay, I know, she says, I know there will be a new normal, wondering if it will include being able to be with friends and family members without wearing masks. Let's, there's the second part of that, but we'll start with that. The short answer is no. Yes and no. We'll say the short answer is yes and no. And the reason being that, of course, people that you are with, that you know, that you've been around, that you're sure of, as sure as one can be, that we say, yes, you can remove the mask with those people. Of course, when you, I mean, this is just common sense, so I'm just going to speak to this from a common sense perspective. Wherever you go, really for the next, again, we want to say on and off for the next 3 years, that this is just going to be part of who we are as a global culture and society. This is who we are, and washing and sanitizing, it needs to be your new normal, humans. It just does. And unfortunately, what happens for human beings is that they get a little complacent. They think, oh, this is slowing down. we're going to go to the beach, we're going to go shopping, and of course, we all want to do this. We all want to do this. I'm feeling personally a lot of cabin fever myself. And so we say, follow as much as you can the guidelines and wear your mask, because this is for everybody's protection, yours and the people that you come in contact with. Even at 6 feet, oddly as it sounds, you know. I personally was having a conversation with my friend and neighbor about how much I miss our dinners and our she and my other friend down the street, there's the three of us who get together. We're getting together very regularly for dinners and shows and watching movies together. And I miss this so desperately. And the conversation is that we can do that as time goes on. And we just need to keep our distance, our physical distance. We don't even really want to call it social distancing. It is just physical distancing with of course, the intention and the understanding that you constantly sanitize and wash. And boy, if you never realized how much you touch your face, you do now. So there's some cautiousness we advise you of as you move forward in terms of having groups. Groups other than family that you know and you have been with. It's risky. It is risky because the way this virus works, it has like a sonar, a radar. Sonar is for water, I guess. It has a radar that it beams in on people, and it's like, new host, I can find that person, I can go to this person. It just knows how to do that and where to go, and we'll do that, and we'll do it very rapidly. So we ask you to think about it in that way. If you're in a group of people who don't know that they're getting a cold, and then 2 days later they're like, man, I'm so sick, and you're like, uh-oh, I was with them and we were talking and we hugged, and I mean, it's that easy, if not easier, because we think that this virus, it can just, no pun intended, zoom in and travel crazy distances that you would not think are possible, which is what happened to begin with anyway. So it is not going away anytime soon. To answer your question and to move on, it is, get used to wearing a mask, get used to sanitizing and washing, do the best you can. I personally, with a mask, hate it because it fogs up my glasses and I have a hard time breathing through it. And if I'm not going to wear it, then I need to step back from whomever I'm around because it is not fair to them. I think of it from that perspective. Okay. Oh, I am still sharing my screen. Thank you. Okay, hold on. How's that? Thanks, Lynn. Okay, this is why somebody else has to run this for me. All right. Okay, my question has to, this is from Daphne. Hi, Daphne. My question has to do with how this will affect Silicon Valley. Now that companies, so I hesitate to even read the next part, but it is about working from home indefinitely. You're going to see a lot more of this. And this actually brings up a new issue that we wanted to address. So people are going to continue to work from home, and it's going to spawn a whole new socially, so we're going to call it a social disorder. I don't know what that means personally, where people people are really going to struggle with getting together with people in person, not so much from fear of having or getting the virus, but from adjusting to this new isolation. So we have to teach people this is a good opportunity. This will be a great opportunity, Joyce, and whoever else asked me, I can't remember, about what are the new opportunities to come. This will be about creating new and innovative ways to help people reconnect, not so much from a, we're going to use therapy or perspective, although that's always helpful in these situations, but from a new innovative approach. Hopefully that makes sense. To get people together, not, and to connect in deeper and more innovative ways than just on Zoom or FaceTime or Skype or whatever calls, okay? So be thinking in that way, be innovative in that way. Hopefully that makes some sense. Maybe more about that will come out in a minute. She says, now that companies are allow working from home indefinitely, and companies are getting more creative when working remotely, we no longer need to be in the office. Well, maybe this just did answer your question. And live close to companies we work at. How will this affect Silicon Valley housing prices, and for how long? That's a great question. We don't see any change in that immediately. We're not even sure that that will change over time, because they're showing me something about things spreading out, how people can spread out to, let me see if I can get a better hold on this before I give it to you. So Silicon Valley is a hub, and it will continue to be a hub for many years to come. We don't see that changing. What we see changing is that people may be able to join, and we don't even know that this is really a change from anywhere in the world. I mean, this is happening now, and has been happening. I think what they're really telling me is we don't see this changing immediately. I'll talk for myself for the moment. And I was actually surprised that we didn't see any change in the housing prices when this happened. And even in the last month or two, apparently everything is going as strong as it has ever been. So that may be their reasoning for that. Silicon Valley is known for its innovation, among many other things, and we don't see that changing anytime soon. And that means housing prices probably will not change anytime soon. Hope that answers your question. Okay, let's see, where else am I? Okay, Daphne, I hope that answered your question. Okay, from Jody, will public schools reopen for physical classrooms in 2020? And I just want to say we're at about 12:23, and there are like 21 new messages to come. I'm willing to stay on the call for a while longer until they're done with me. Thank you, Daphne, for that acknowledgement. That helps. Whoever needs to leave, I honor that, and you can always go back to the recording. So I'm just going to continue on with that. information in mind for you. Will public schools reopen for physical classrooms in 2020? Oddly enough, that's not a simple yes or no answer. Or maybe it's not odd. We see that there's a lot of things that have to be in place for this to happen, so we don't see that happening at this time. There is still a lot of time left for innovation and possibilities for that to happen in 2020. The main, how do I want to say this? Hang on. The main possibility that's coming through is that this will not happen, at least the way we think of it normally happening. It's sort of a domino effect, because so many local governments, cities, counties are now so cash poor that they don't have the money to put into innovation. We would actually encourage those creative people out there to now start going to the richer businesses in Silicon Valley and asking them to help with this. Just a thought for you people. Because the government as it exists at this moment, prior to any changes that we see happening in November or actually January of next year, it's going to be a real struggle to get money into even the schools, which the schools, the county, the city and county services that we need so desperately, like for law enforcement. And anyway, I know you mostly get that, so I'm not going to go into that too deeply. But so the answer to your question is we don't see that happening unless there's some brilliant innovation that occurs that also has an infusion of money to allow these changes to take place. That's sort of the answer to that. We really don't see this happening until later, and maybe even later in 2021. This will have to do with treatments and vaccines, and as well as the way school rooms and school settings are structured. I mean, this is, so get innovative at home for you parents is what we'll say about that. Okay, hopefully that answered that question, Jody. Okay, Linda asked me, when does the 3 years start? Thanks, Linda. So we got this information probably a couple of months ago, and we always go from that time. So this is May, so it was probably March, maybe April. So we're looking at, oh, please don't make me do math while I'm with my guides. 2023, is that right? Somebody say yes. Okay, thank you. And we've even seen mid-2023 before we look back and say, that was a once-in-a-lifetime event we hope we never experience again. Remember that this is going to cause and effect, create a lot of promising innovation. So we really want you to look at it from that perspective. So will it take 3 years from then to travel to Europe to be safe? That's a different question. We don't think so. We think you can probably do that travel sooner. We think we're going to say somewhere between 1.5 years to 2 years as we exist and stand now. Okay. Boy, I'm with you. I'd like to be traveling. I really have some cabin fever. So again, this might change, but really, that's what they're giving me. 2020, late part of 2021, maybe 2022. I wouldn't plan a trip before then that you can't get refunded. How's that for an answer? Okay, and Kimberly, I think you asked this, and hopefully I kind of, I mean, Kimberly, I know you asked this, and hopefully I've answered this. Kimberly asked, will the political climate change for the better after the election? And this is not my answer, this is their answer. Of course, change for the better is a personal perspective. Some people think it's for the better now. That would not be me, but there is that contingency that does. So I want to clarify that and say, again, reaffirm, we do feel at this point, while there may be some ups and downs in the polling, in the consciousness, in the what other people may call the outcome of the election. At this point, we are reaffirming what we have thought for a while, or what we gave Julie for a while, which is that Biden will win. What we actually what they told me a couple of months ago, this is what I heard. He will fall, he being Mr. Trump, the person in the White House. So, and fall being he will no longer have that position. That's how I interpreted that information. So back to them. Will the political climate change for the better? Again, so the short answer is yes, for people who are progressive and want to see a change in government. Others may not think that way. But there will be a lot of changes ahead. Many, many, many changes ahead. And so some of them, so the resistance that we have experienced in the country to so many of the changes that we think are necessary, there will be a lot less resistance for that moving forward and happening. You're going to see a lot of this happen in 2021. It's going to start you're going to see a lot of changes happen all at once as in 2021, okay? And then from there, we're going to slow down a little bit. We also see a change in the Senate, or the structure, we'll say the structure of the government as it exists now, of the government. I don't even know what I just heard. That this will shift from Republican rule to Democratic rule. We see this now. We're going to say to you, we feel a little bit more cautious about this. Over the next 6 months, we'll see. We have thought this will change. We have thought this for a long time. So I'm personally hoping and praying that will happen. We need a change in this structure to effectuate the change. And change we must, okay? So I hope that sounds like kind of a wordy answer to your question. I hope that helped. Give me a thumbs up, Kimberly, if it did, or anybody else. Okay, thanks. Okay, how can we support the highest and best timeline for all concerned? This is from Deb. So here's the good news, Deb. Where am I finding Deb? Hi, Deb, thanks. Here's the thing, Deb. It's out of your control. It's out of my control. We don't really ever have to worry about that. It is already in motion. Everybody's highest and best good happens as they come in, even if we as humans around those people may not see it as happening that way. It is already set in motion when they enter. Everybody is on their own road of evolution, at their own pace of evolution. I know you know this. And so what we can do to help them is to allow them to rise to their highest level by thinking less that we have to change them in some way. So what I mean by that, or what they mean by that, is that, look, and I'm one of these people, because I think I wrote a book thinking people need to change and embrace certain new rules and structures in order to have what they really want is in their highest and best interest. And what they're saying is, as people realize that their evolution is happening, whether they like it or not, and some do not, they will seek out the people to help them do that. So keep offering what you offer. Because that is your path of best and highest evolution. Make sense? Right? And so when you offer your best and highest self to the world, other people will gravitate to you that need to be with you. Okay, I know you know this, and they want to reaffirm it for you. There is nothing you need to do or say that you aren't already doing. We say, listen to your own heart, your own intuition, your own guidance, and follow that. And I'll put in, aha, and have a reading with Julie every now and then. Okay, so it is happening. It is happening. People who are ready to make the changes that will happen in the next few years will do it. Will do it. And they will need, oh, this is a new one, they will need Sherpas. That's from them, Sherpas. So whatever that means to you, be your best and highest Sherpa. Okay, how's that? Timeline. Timeline. There is no timeline for, everybody's on their own timeline. All right. So Deb, your timeline is yours. Keep, just follow your own guidance and intuition. And we would also say to you, get training as you need it. We absolutely encourage you to do that, for people to do that, right? Okay. Where are we? We're at 12:36. Anita asks, when will people be ready to touch again? Dance studios, massage therapists. Oh, I think so. People are ready now. It's just not going to happen on a wide scale right now. I personally am going to cop to the fact that I had a massage by my massage therapist, and I'm seeing her again next week, because we have that trust and we know what we do to prepare for that. And geez, I need a massage. So that's why that's happening. And boy, do I need a haircut. Who can relate to that one, huh? And so, look, there's only so much I can cut of my own hair. That's going to be that. So haircuts, nail salons, those things are going to happen fairly soon, we think. And honestly, more from a place of rebellion. Like, people are just, we're ready for this. We don't even care. We don't even care. However, again, it's just about being cautious. Everybody, you know, everybody needs to sanitize, wash, and mask. So even if you're doing a massage, my massage therapist wore her mask the whole time. Okay. All right. Yeah, we need that, right? Okay, thank you. Oh, thanks, Celia, for that information. All right. Oh, this is funny. Not funny, haha. Hang on a second, let me go back to this one. Hang on, everybody. Okay, Trisha, I love your question, and I think we need to take that offline. Okay. And then Celia added in Bitcoin cottage industries. Yes, yes. Okay, back to what does the universe need from us to learn we need to in order to avoid another pandemic? Pandemics will come and go. This is a cleansing mechanism, as was the tsunami in Pacific Rim, wherever that was. It, right? Where it killed an unfathomable amount of people. Unfathomable amount of people. This is normal. This is normal. We don't live in a utopia. We live with humans, and humans will come and go, some sooner, some later. And the universe doesn't need to learn the lesson. The humans need to learn the lessons. And that's why we have illness and disease and pandemics and other methods of cleansing. It just is. It just is. As long as there are humans, there will be this type of cleansing, and that's a very pragmatic way of sounding, but it is what it is. So I'll just let you know from a personal standpoint. When I'm in the records, when I'm talking to my guides, there is no judgment. There's only love and compassion, and so that's what you may be hearing. Okay. All right, let me go down a little bit further. Sounds like, okay, sustainable textiles. Yes. Okay. All right. So public transportation, flying, these things are going to take a little bit longer because there's so much that has to go in to making this, we're going to use air quotes with this, a safe way of navigating and moving from place to place. It will come back not the way we think of it now, and it won't come back in a safe way. They're telling me 2022. So that's a pretty big gap between now and then, from my perspective. It may be that we try certain things in between, is what they're saying to me, and that it's trial and error. Okay, we tried this. Oh boy, this didn't work out well. So now we have to go back to the drawing board. And in between, there will be, starts and stops. So remember, as we know it, this will not be the same culture, society, planet, place as we knew it before, period. And as we thought about it before, for about 3 years. And again, there will be innovations that people will come up with to facilitate these things happening sooner, possibly. Okay, so flying and, there may even be a new way of doing that. Somebody may come up with a new way of that. Not, I mean, they'll use the airplane, but instead of fossil fuels, maybe in a small contained area, maybe back to the bullet trains or something. I don't know. Big innovations to come about travel and about travel by planes, trains, and that sort of thing. So Anita asks also, will the benefits that the environment has seen from the pandemic remain or be quickly reversed? This was an amazing wake-up call. So thanks for asking that question, because I got information about that a while ago as well. This has been an amazing wake-up call. Clearly, there's no denying that what is happening can be reversed and is human related, and it has happened from all the fossil fuels, and it is our, and other things, and it is our opportunity that we have been waiting for this to happen. There will be a drive to go back to what we know as normal, so cars and traffic and all that. There will be a drive, no pun intended, there will be a drive for that. However, we see with the change in government that a lot of these things will change for the better, and this was our opening to do that. So I'm really glad you asked that question, because we all needed to hear that. Hopefully that was enough of an answer for that. All right. I think that was all the questions. There were comments and I loved them. I want to open it up, and if anybody has a thought or another comment, we can do it. Otherwise, we can just end. So hang on one second while I unmute you. Oh, lots of, hi everybody. Can you hear me? Well, you could hear me before. Okay. Any, if you have any comments or follow-on questions, maybe the best way to do that is to raise your hand, because let's try that. Or not. Does everything, oh wait, okay, Mika. Hi, Mika.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
So what are we learning from being this isolation? Because we are, you know, we have a neighbor right next door. The distance is not too long, but we all been isolated. What are we learning from it?
So that's an interesting question, Mika. It's not, am I pronouncing your name right, by the way?
Yeah, Mika.
It's not so much, so we don't see it as an opportunity for learning so much in that way. We see it as a byproduct of what has happened. It just is a byproduct of how this has happened. And there is nothing we can really do about that. The learning, as we mentioned earlier, will come from the innovations that come later, you know, come forward in the future for people to re-engage in a way that helps us to reconnect with people, even on a deeper level. I don't know what that means per se. So, did that answer your question?
Yes, yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, maybe one more if anybody has it. Anita. Oh, well, there's a few more. Well, I saw Anita's hand first, so go ahead, Anita.
Are we moving towards becoming a touchless society? Because as a single person that works alone in isolation on a regular basis, you know, because that's why I brought up the dancing and the massage, you know, are we supposed to somehow evolve into humans that need less touch?
So it's a great question, because there's so many of us that struggle with that, right? Many of us here on this call work alone or work from home. Even though we interact with our clients, we're not in a huge, except for, I don't know, Tricia, maybe you have a bigger interaction, but in some ways, yes. So it's very interesting. What they showed me was that, so this is an interesting experience for me, because they give me things that I can relate to so that I can explain to you. And what they showed me was that, I don't know, 30 years ago, there was a movie called Back to the Future. Anybody remember that movie?
Yeah.
And I think it was in the second one, or maybe the third one, where they show them looking at all these TV screens there's many monitors on a giant TV screen. And we're doing that now, oddly enough. And there is going to be more of that and less of personal engagement, at least in the near term. We have to go through this lesson, for better or for worse. Like, they call it a lesson, I call it a lesson, and we will evolve from that. It will change, but not for a while. Not for a while. It is going to be very kind of isolationist. I don't know if that's even a word. For a while, and new industries in that can take advantage of this technology and run with it will do that as well. You'll see more of these crop up. But really, it's the innovation of people who are like, there's got to be a way to deeply connect, even if it's not in person. And I'm sure my sister would agree with that. She does deep connection now. My sister's on the call. So there will be more of that. It may just look a little different. Eventually, over time, of course, we will connect again physically. We have to, or we can't procreate, although that's not a bad thing at this time. Having a pause in population and having population control is also a good thing. So, I don't know, did that answer your question? Anita, do you think that answered your question, or is there more to that?
I mean, I moved to Miami, which is a huggy, kissy kind of culture, and I've been at home for 7 months before the coronavirus because I busted my foot. This is terrifyingly sad to me.
Yes. So be patient. Be patient. Cultivate relationships that you can have one-on-one with people, so that you at least feel connected to one person or two people that you have trust with. It's like me and my two neighbors. We know who we are. We know where we go. We don't do the things that we used to do together yet, but we still see each other. So there are ways to do that, and we encourage you to make that kind of a connection so that you feel that on a more physical, deeper level. Does that make sense?
And Julie, this is Paula, Julie's sister. I can help with that too. I'm in the next month, probably, I'm going to be starting to do some connection activities. They will be on Zoom, but they're deeply connecting, and we call them relating games. And it's an opportunity to really be seen and heard and felt as closely as we can on a platform like this.
Okay.
But
hang on. If anybody's interested in that, just let me know, and I'll send you Paula's information.
I just wanted to let people know that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So it just is what it is right now. Physical contact is really hard, unless you know somebody and you know that they've been safe for 14 days. It is really hard to. I want to hug my friends, and I miss that, just hugging my friends. So we say, let's see, Janet says some people have been increasing their family circle with pledge to safety and hugs. I think you maybe saw that, Anita. That was a good thing. So yeah, find somebody and make an agreement or a pledge that you know and trust each other, and that you will always observe the safety parameters and doing that, then maybe it will lead to at least hugs. Sex will come later. Sorry about that. I mean, unless you know somebody that you're in a relationship with and that all works, and good for you. Okay. All right. So I think we're coming to the end because I have some things I have to go take care of. But I'm going to say one more question and then we'll close. Anybody? Or do you feel full? So I ask, thank you so much. Was this helpful for people?
Yes.
Okay, good. Of course, you're always welcome. Hang on a second. I kind of just need to transition out for a minute. Okay. You're always welcome to go deeper with a private reading from me, and that is geared specifically towards you. And if you think these are helpful, let other people know so that they can let me know, so we can hold another one and I can have my VA set it up so that I'm not the idiot on the other end managing this. I mean, I wouldn't be an idiot, but so that somebody who's a professional would manage the end of this, the other end of that. So if you think that this was helpful, definitely give me the feedback for that and let anybody else know that you think might want to do this. And then I'll hold another one maybe in another month. A lot can, boy, these days a lot happens in a day, right? All right. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. There will be a way for you to get the recording, although I don't know what that is just yet. You'll get it. And you can share it if you want. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank
you, Julie. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Yes.
everyone. Love you. Love you all.
Great job. Love your
Great job. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.